Welcome to the Revolution of You podcast, hosted by Casey Dittmer, an award-winning creative entrepreneur, international speaker, wife, and mother who is passionate about igniting a revolution of evolution. On this podcast, she'll be throwing grenades with refreshing, unfiltered conversations that are raw and nothing short of life-changing. So buckle up, Buttercup, because nothing is off limits here. We'll be exploring life, business, shaking up old beliefs, and having the needed conversations that will empower you to grow into the best version of yourself. Are you ready?
Welcome back to another episode of The Revolution of You. Today I want to talk about something that I think is foundationally setting you up for failure. I know that seems really big and daunting right out of the gate, but it's probably not what you expect it to be. It's something that we all strive for. It's something that adds a lot of pressure to our lives. But the problem is that we're doing it wrong from the very get-go. So how about we change up our mindset towards this one thing? And maybe it's the key to a fresh start and a better process altogether. So what is this one thing? It's success. I know. You're thinking success is a term that defines the end, right? The goalpost, the threshold of completion. You would think, but it's really not. Success is a method, it's a mindset, and it's a system. And what's happening is we're creating our system, or worse yet, owning someone else's system, and we can never achieve it. So let's start over. Let's start with 3 simple steps to retaking ownership of your success. Now, the concept of success is interesting because when you look at the definition in most dictionaries, it's something very simple. It's the completion of an act or purpose, a specific act or purpose. And that seems very simple, very straightforward. So how could we get so sideways on it? The problem is that we've changed it. We've changed success into becoming something that measures not only the completion of a specific act or purpose, but it's so much bigger. It's defining who we are and how valued we are, how valuable we are, our worth, not just professionally, but personally. And that's a problem. We have put so many eggs into this basket of success that the pressure becomes almost oppressive. It just, for me, I want to crumple underneath that. Not only the pressure of chasing success and having that, being deemed successful, but the other side, failure seems so much bigger because it is the exact opposite of this thing that we say creates value and worth in our lives. Failure does the exact opposite. And so we've created this black or white system, right? You are either a success or you are a failure. Period. And that in itself sets us up for failure. So what I'm wanting us to do is rein this in to regain control. So the first thing that we have to do is just to define success. I should say redefine success. Again, going back to that original definition, it is a completion of a specific aim or purpose. What has happened, though, are there's outside factors that influence the definition of success in our lives. And this could be personal or professional. It applies across the board. But if you stop and you think about your current path forward, who and what is defining that version of success? Those outside factors could be industry-led, right? We see that all the time. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's kind of the same thing over and over, right? It's a threshold, it's a dollar amount, it's accolades, whatever. It's usually like an ego-driven thing, right? That somebody, who knows who this somebody is or what deemed them the worthy person to be able to dictate this definition, but they've decided that if you don't do this, then you are less. Let's relate it right back to what I'm familiar with, the photography industry. And again, I'm sure that you have your own narratives that you hear all the time. And I have to tell you, full disclosure, I was a horrible peddler of these narratives. I would go around and I would speak all the time that if you're not reaching these thresholds and meeting this definition of success, then you're not trying hard enough. Well, that's bullshit, right? And shame on me for doing it that way. But we see it again, specific. I know, I squirreled. The big ones that you hear in classes, workshops, things that people are trying to sell you, 6-figure incomes, $1 million studios. They lay out all their money on the table and take a picture of it in the Facebook groups and say, oh, I had a $10,000 sale. They are exhibiting the fact that these are thresholds for success, and they are successful because they've hit those thresholds. And if you have not hit those thresholds, then you are not successful. I'm going to make myself feel better because I'm going to shame you that you are not doing the same thing that I am doing. It's a dangerous game. We all do it, all of us. Don't pretend like you don't. We all do it. But we have to call it, and we have to recognize that that's what's defining success in us. That comparison factor is a killer, right? One of the biggest killers of creativity is comparison. So we instantly look at these Facebook groups and classes and workshops, and we go to these conferences and they tell us the systems, part of the systems, right? To get you to their threshold of success. And we walk away not feeling excited or energized, but defeated because, oh my gosh, if I don't have a 6-figure income from my business, then I'm not a success. It doesn't matter that I'm having enough money that covers my bills and puts money in the bank account and I'm happy, and that's not successful. Successful is what this person is telling me success is. And we get into this loop. So industry is really toxic in that fact because it really puts people in a box, but it also throttles them. Because what if you could do even more than what's being put in front of you? But instead, we just fixate and focus on that one specific point, and that's what we go for. Outside of industry factors, it could be cultural or societal. We see this all the time. Social media is the worst for this. Don't even get me started, but the Kardashians, oh my gosh, it's like a pain point for me. It's toxic. This facade of success. I have all these things and I do all these things and it's lovely and it's materialistic and it's financial, and no, it's not realistic. And there's other versions of success. You know, when I started photography, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't social media. So we kind of kept an eye generally on what everybody else was doing so that we knew, just on a business level, you should somewhat pay attention to what's happening around you. But we were not bombarded and fixated on all of these comparison things. You didn't talk about the business. You didn't talk about the numbers. You didn't talk about how many clients you had or didn't have. And so now, whether we like it or not, we are bombarded with comparison. And it greatly affects how we define our success in a debilitating way. So going back to that definition, knowing that there's outside influences that are creating a toxicity in your definition that you may not have even known were there. I didn't. That's what was happening to me, right? I had this business. I was successful, and I never felt successful because the voices, the narratives, the outside influence was telling me that it wasn't enough. Go bigger, more. You're almost there. Really? I'm almost there? How am I not fucking there? But it was because I was letting somebody else, something else, define my success. So rein it in. And number one, I want you to think about what you want. It's simple. It's a simple question. What do you want? Is it to have $1 million studio? Because if so, there's nothing wrong with that. Is it to create an empire? Is it to be the CEO of wherever you are? Or is it to make $10 extra a month so that you can afford a Starbucks? Barely can you afford a Starbucks these days for $10 a month. Might have to shoot a little bit higher. Its prices are going up. Is it to just be happy in your job? To come in, punch the clock, 9 to 5, go home, be with your family, and not have to stress about it? To financially provide for your family, and that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. What do you want? What do you need? Those are two different things, and they are important questions. And understand that is fluid. It could change, and that there's multiple avenues, right? What do you want and need personally? What do you want and need professionally? What do you want and need in your marriage, your relationship, your partnership? See, that's the problem with the previous definition of success, is it was all lumped into one big package. I was a successful person if I could have $1 million company, then somehow, by like some miracle, my marriage would be fine, my kids would be fine, I would find happy at the end of the rainbow as well. If I just did this, like I hit this threshold, all the things would fall into place. That's not how it works. You need to plan for each avenue of what that success looks like. So thinking about what you want and what you need. On top of that, you need to think about why you want it. I know we're getting deep. Told you we're doing work today. Why do you define your success that way? Is it a financial need? You need to hit this threshold because that's what it takes to support yourself, your family, your employees? Is it ego-driven? There's nothing wrong with that. Not one bit, but call it for what it is. And beware, because ego likes to hide. She's a tricky bitch, right? She likes to pretend you're doing things for the greater good when realistically it is ego. And that's okay. Just be upfront with yourself on that. You can keep it in check better if you at least acknowledge that's what's happening. Why are you wanting this to go this way? It's an important question. And guys, it's not an easy answer. These are things that you're going to have to kind of sit and brain dump and think about and mull because they're going to just kind of be liquidy and icky and then they'll start to gel, right? So don't get frustrated that you're listening to this podcast and by the end of it, you can't create your definition. That'd be crazy. In fact, I would challenge you at that point to maybe pause and sit in it for just a little bit. The problem is, and I think a lot of you are going to feel this, is there's going to be an uncomfortable tinge. And what that uncomfortable tinge is from is you have to admit that you're doing it wrong in order to correctly do it right, to make that shift. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Again, talking from experience. To admit that you have been chasing this definition, trying to reach this threshold for however long, devoting energy, time, money, to pausing and saying, shit, that is not what I wanted and not what I needed, and I need to reevaluate and shift. That is fucking hard, but it's so necessary, and it's okay at any stage of the game. Even on your definition that you create after this, it's okay to change that definition. But that's that uncomfortableness that you're feeling, right? So as we're starting in this process, you might get a little squirmy. It's okay. It's growth. It's change. Remember, we say it in the tagline, for fuck's sakes, growth through uncomfortable conversation. You know it's coming. So unclench. Let's move forward. You're doing great. You've created a definition based on what you want, what you need, and why. That's huge. That becomes your mission statement, right? Your guiding light. The second step that you have to do after defining it is understanding success in general. That success isn't a singular endpoint. And that's how we've been viewing it. And it's wrong. It's so much more than that. Success is liquid, okay? So if you think about it, we think of success as, again, black or white. It's a defined solid state. When I hit this, I am automatically defined as success. Woohoo. It's not that way. It's liquid. If you think in terms of those who we deem overnight successes, again, we're saying that it was like a switch flipped and all of a sudden they're successful. That's not how it works. Those people went through a long, arduous process of steps forward, steps back, sideways, in order to reach the point of success. I call it, and I've read this in multiple books. It's not mine. But I call it the critical threshold of success. When you've flipped over that mound of like, okay, I'm going, and then finally, okay, there we are. And then it starts to be self-running. And that's the point that we're seeing these people that were like, oh, it was overnight. No, you have no idea how long it took to get to the top of that hill. They finally crested. So understanding the process of success sets you up so that you're not defeated and that you give up because you're like, I'm never going to get there. Success is about the journey more than it is about the end point, right? In fact, I would challenge you to change the name. Instead of success being the end goal, contentment, happy, fulfillment, sufficient, however you want to. But success is the process of getting there. What do I mean by that? We learn some of the biggest things along the way that are considered, quote unquote, failures. We learn the most from those points. And those points are these really cool branches in our journey that could lead us to somewhere we didn't know, we didn't plan for, but are so much bigger, so unexpected than our original path. And we've talked about this before in the fear camps, that when you're so focused and tunnel visioned on something, that you become blind to all the big potential and amazing things around you. And that's exactly what happens here. If you're so fixated on this one singular point that is considered success, you're not appreciating the things along the way, the lessons, the moments, or seeing the potential or the options for a variation of success that you didn't plan for, but that is better. So you have to learn to appreciate the journey, not just the end goal. You also need to understand and allow some grace that it, again, is an ebb and a flow. Remember, we talked about the different channels, personal, professional, relationships, all those things. Allow grace and allow yourself to celebrate certain moments along that success journey that are positives. So you're going to have days where it's like, okay, did I make $1 million today? No, I did not. Not a success in that sense. Did I keep 3 children alive today? Yes, I did. I did. Can't tell you the condition or how clean they are, but they were fed, they are alive. I'm going to put that in the success box. Some days, putting my pants on and getting out of bed, that is a success. And I know that that is not the day to go after the big fish. I'm going to celebrate the fact that the small things, I got the small things done. Because if you are constantly barraging yourself with negativity and shaming yourself, do you realize that we do that more than anybody else in our lives? We shame ourselves for the things that we didn't do or the standards that we didn't live up to that we had set for ourselves, that we're just beating ourselves down, right? So allowing grace and space, so that you can appreciate the good things and the neutral things. Sometimes there's days where nothing happened. Wasn't good, wasn't bad. It was just a meh day, and that's okay. We actually need those days, but allowing that space is going to make you better for the next day. So maybe tomorrow is the day that you burn down doors and do all the great things. But that's how success works. It should be a long-term thing. If you've learned along the way and you have made forward movement towards those aims and purposes that we just defined, that is a success. Period. You're a success. Today, you are a success because you are taking the time to listen to this podcast and value yourself and honoring the importance of growth. That is a success. If you have children, please feed them. That box should be checked like every day until they're like teenagers and then they feed themselves and it's like glorious. Anyways, I digress. You are a success. Big or small actions, you are a success. Allow yourself to sit in that and celebrate. It's a big thing. So you've defined it. You've taken control of that. You're clear on the process that it is not a black and white, either success or failure, that the failures actually lead to success, that the failures sometimes lead you in even a better direction. And I use the word failure because there's really not a replacement word for it, but we need to think about that. So if you have any suggestions, make sure that you leave it in the comments or shoot us a message, because I think that we need to fix that word too. They're not really failures. They're mishaps. No, that's not right. Unexpected outcomes. No, that's not right. We're going to workshop that as a group, but something different than failures, because it's not a failure. It's just a different way to look at things. It's a reset, it's a restart, it's a pause. It's a pause, and that's not bad. So the final thing that you need to do to regain ownership of success is to change the game moving forward. and I'm not talking about just for you, I'm talking about for everybody, and this is a big one. We have allowed success to become this poisonous, toxic definition, this thing that hangs over us like a dark cloud. And I'm asking you, you knew it was coming. It's called the revolution for a reason. I'm asking you to rise up against the status quo and change shit. We need to stop accepting what's being peddled and pushed and touted. But really what it's doing is it's shaming and oppressing everyone else. And we've got to stop. And again, I was a big pusher of it. And it's wrong. Hustle culture. Look, I was a hustle culture queen because it made me feel better about all the shit that I was doing that wasn't healthy, wasn't right. It made me feel better about it. So I'd shame everybody else in the room of like, you're not working hard enough. Why can't you do what I'm doing? I'm doing it, so you got to do it. Sacrifice is necessary. All those things are true to some degree, right? Sacrifice is necessary sometimes to do big things. You do have to work hard. But this hustle culture mentality that throw everything to the side, and if you are not willing to do that, then you can't hang. It's bullshit. It's wrong. Shaming is used as a weapon, and hustle culture is a war. That if you want to have some kind of healthy mentality, mindset, just mental health in general, if you want to have a family life and mix it with your professional life, that you're not strong enough and you don't want it bad enough. I'm here to tell you that's wrong. You can have all the things, not at the same time. There is a give and a take. Balance is a terrible word. It's never equal in balance. It's a give and a take. But you have to be upfront and understand what's going to be required of you to get to your new definition. Are you willing to do those things? And that's all that matters. Are you willing to do what you need to get to your definition of success? And if other people feel like their opinions or their definitions are needed in the conversation, they can go fuck themselves because they're not. They don't matter. You worry about you worry about your definition, what you need, what you want, why you're doing it. That's a you thing. I'm going to be over here and I'm going to be doing what I need in my life for my family, my employees, my business, and all the other stuff is noise. Are you understanding what I'm saying? We got to stop letting everybody else tell the majority of the people what success looks like because it's different for every person. And we don't get to dictate anybody else's definition other than ourselves. So I'm asking you to change the game, to help others redefine their success. Grant them the space. A lot of times it's just someone saying, look, I get it. Have you thought about what you want? I see that you're having this inner push and pull. You're chasing this goal, this dream that's put in front of you. It doesn't seem to really mesh with other things that you're telling me. Have you actually paused to see what it is that you want and what you need? That inner tearing is because your why is not aligning with what you're doing. And that's what was happening with me. I felt like I was being torn in 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I was going so many different directions. But I was letting other people's influence override what I felt in my heart and in my soul, what I needed to be doing. I want you to think about these 3 words as you're changing the game for everybody else, because we use these 3 words and sometimes we use them intermixed like they all are the same thing, and they're not. Need, want, and should. Need and want, you define, okay? You are in control of those 2. Should, you are not in control. You do not define that one. Why does that matter? Think about when we're talking about stuff or we feel like this outside guilt or shame, I should really do that. Why? Why should you really do that? Who is telling you the should? Who determined the should? Did you determine the should? Okay, that's fine. Somebody else determined the should? Maybe think about that a little bit. Do you want it? Do you need it? Those are stronger. Then you should do it. You should run your business this way. You should raise your children this way. You should handle your money this way. You should dress this way. You should eat this way. Sound familiar? The common thread between all those statements is, to me, they sound like shaming statements. That's not good. So as we change the game on success, and you are encouraging other people, or you're having conversations with other people, I'm asking you to think about those 3 words and tread lightly on the shoulds. I think you're actually going to be amazed when you start to think about how many times we say that to ourselves and to other people. Stop buying programs that set the bar in a way that doesn't match your inner why. Stop encouraging behaviors, narratives, mindsets that are destructive and closed-mindedness. We need to allow other people to stretch and to define themselves, their businesses, their success. And we have to stop trying to control the conversations and the narratives into singular versions and definitions. I'm asking you to allow space. Get those elbows out, wiggle some room, and if enough of us start to do it, it will start to change things for the better. So let's recap what you need to do, your homework. Number 1, define your own version of success. What do you want and why do you want it? Number 2, understand what success is. Understand what it's going to take to get there. Understand that it is a process, not a quick thing. Understand what it looks like on the other side. So when you hit this threshold that you're defining, what does that mean after? Allowing yourself grace and space along the way to celebrate, to marinate, and to grow. And finally, number 3, change the game. Be the voice, be the influence to help others take ownership of their success. Because then we'll all grow stronger. Because who knows what we can accomplish when people are doing what they're passionate about and what their hearts and souls are leading them to do. Not operating out of shame, out of shoulds, but operating because that's what they want and what they need. I'm so excited to see where this takes you. And please, I want you to join the conversation. We still need to define and create a new version, a word for failure. So you need to also send me that feedback. But let me know what you think about this. Talk to me. Ask me questions. I'm here to help. Because this is a process. And remember, definitions can change along the way. Fluid, not solid state. And let's see where this new operating system of success leads you. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you for joining the revolution. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to become an agent of the revolution at revolutionofyou.net for exclusive content and to submit your questions and ideas for discussion. We would greatly appreciate you rating us and sharing with others who could benefit from joining the conversation. Thanks for tuning in. Talk soon.